You are now listening to 1-900 Old Ladies, The Lost Art of Making Lefse, written by L. Lee Starr, narrated by the author. Post-production by Pinto Media. Chapter 11. You need to melt your butter and mix it with your cream until it's soupy. Sometimes in the summertime, it's so gosh darn hot, the butter almost melts itself. But if it's winter, you got to melt it gently on the stove. Make sure it's well mixed and add your salt. Sigrid Severtsen. Alan Dickinson sat alone at his computer desk in the ad layout division of the Himmel Chronicle. In reality, the ad layout division was a tiny 5x9 cubicle in the already small office for the weekly town newspaper. The paper itself was only a 2 to 4 page weekly foldout. Most of the time, there wasn't a great deal for Alan to do. Today, like most other days, he reclined in his comfortable desk chair and propped his feet up on the edge of his desk. He draped his keyboard in his lap and played a game of Legend of Curandia. Alan was a very tall, overweight young man of 16. Like his father, Eric, Alan had curly red hair and blue eyes, which were framed by long eyelashes so white they almost seemed like silk webs. He was now a young man, but he looked like a child in a grown man's body. This was due to the fact that his entire body was still dotted with a million freckles. His already out-of-shape physique indicated that he had always been the artsy computer geek type. Like his father before him, he was an ex-student of Ellen's who studied under her tutelage from the 1st through the 6th grade until just before she retired. He was not Ellen's favorite student, but she did acknowledge that Alan was a bright boy, even though he was somewhat of a troublemaker. The Chronicle's art department did not drum up a sufficient amount of business to justify the salary of one full-time ad artist. As a result, Alan was known to do freelance layouts and photography for individuals placing ads in other newspapers. When he wasn't involved in doing layouts for the paper or drumming up freelance work, he whiled away the hours playing PC games on his DOS computer. He sat alone, playing with and cursing at his game. His former teacher and her older sister entered through the Chronicle's front door. Since he was the only person in the office, he put down his keyboard and stood to greet them. "Well, hello, ladies," he greeted suavely. "What can I do for you?" Margie was intensely preoccupied with the business at hand. "Ellie tells me you do freelance work. Is that true?" "Well, that depends on what you need," Alan answered. She handed him an old boudoir picture she had given to John in 1958. She had the photograph taken privately by a discreet Florida photographer after giving birth to her 4th child. She had formally presented the photograph to her late husband on their 7th anniversary. Even after 4 children, Margie still had a knockout figure. In the picture, she was tastefully and sexily posed on a romantic antique daybed. The photograph was fairly well preserved, despite the fact that the outer edges were worn. It also contained a few spots of moisture from being stored for over 30 years in the Florida humidity. Alan examined the photo, and his eyes widened. "This is you?" "Yes. Tell me, what can you do with this?" Margie inquired. "When was this taken?" "Shut up. Just tell me what you can do with this." "Well, I'm not sure what you need, ma'am." "First, you've got to promise me that you won't tell a soul about this," Margie demanded. "Sure, if the price is right, I can keep a secret," Ellen promised. "What are you going to do?" "We're going to place ads in a couple of skin rags for 2 900 numbers we own. I need you to touch this up. Can you fix the photo and update my gown?" "You mean make it look less 50s-ish?" "Yes, update it and fix the worn spots." "Sure, no problem," Ellen assured. "Then I need you to add some text," Margie added. "Like what?" 1-900 Hot Mama. Just ask for Gabrielle. Let's talk about your wildest fantasies." Margie puckered her lips sexily as she dictated the copy for the ad. Whoa, Alan moaned. You sure you want to do this? How do you know I can keep this a secret? Maybe this'll help. Margie snapped her fingers, and Ellen revealed a rolled-up wad of $20 bills tied together with a rubber band. Ellie handed it to her sister. Margie whipped out several large bills and handed them to Eric. Will that keep your trap shut? Sure, ma'am. Alan smiled, crumbling the stash of cash in his jeans pocket. That's not all, Margie commanded. I need you to do an ad for Ellie. Alan looked surprised. What? For Miss Ellie? Yes, Margie answered. I need you to take a sexy school teacher photo of Ellie. Aw, shucks. I can't do that. She's my teacher. No, she's your ex-teacher. Get over it and grow up. I need you to take some hot photos of Ellie looking like a sexy, strict schoolmarm. Ellen stood, frozen with embarrassment. Her sister continued to bark out orders for Ellen. You mean she needs an ad too? He asked nervously. Yes. That one will say 1-900 old ladies, nasty schoolmarm ready and waiting to punish naughty schoolboys. Ask for Miss Elsa Dietrich. Alan glanced over at Ellen in disbelief. Miss Ellie? Yes, Ellen, dear, Ellie answered. Desperate times call for desperate measures. You will keep this quiet, won't you? Well, that depends. Alan held out his naked palm. Margie rolled her eyes and pulled out a few more bills, slapping them in his hand. You little shit. Now let's get moving. Right this way, ladies, Miss Ellie. And with that, Alan Dickinson directed Ellen and Margie to his studio to produce one of the all-time best quarter-page ad layouts of his meager graphic design career. This was an ad he could never show anyone in the town of Himmel. Ever. Alan Dickinson finished the ad proofs for Margie and Ellen within 3 days. Of course, he didn't really have anything else to devote his time to. The two sisters marched their addressed ad proofs to the post office to mail to a select few entertainment publications in the country. All of these newsletters catered to the younger crowd and specifically featured 900 ads for sex chat lines in the back. In addition, Margie had selectively chosen a variety of magazines in larger and distant cities where she knew no one would possibly recognize her and her sister's image. Hopefully, if Alan could keep a secret, no one inside the state of North Dakota would ever know about their new business venture. They could reside as two respectable old ladies in the tiny town of Himmel while they conducted their sleazy 900 chat lines in the privacy of their own home. The publications Margie selected to advertise in included Creative Loafing in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Tampa, Florida, Riverfront Times in St. Louis, Missouri, and various cheap ad campaigns along the Las Vegas Strip. Those ad campaigns usually involved non-English speaking vendors who simply handed out business cards and flyers to passersby and encouraged them to dial the sisters' 900 number. These cards were often discarded just a few feet away on the edge of the sidewalk, but occasionally an interested recipient would stuff the advertisement in his pocket. This was all the initial advertisement the sisters could afford. Of all their ad campaigns, the Las Vegas campaign was the riskiest and most expensive. Despite the questionable nature of their advertisements, the other aforementioned publications were quite reputable. Marge's plan was to place 2 one-quarter-page ads side by side with 1-900 Hot Mama and 1-900 Old Ladies. Margie would answer the Hot Mama line as a young seductress named Gabrielle. Ellen would answer the Old Ladies line as a repressed old schoolteacher, Elsa Dietrich, who threatened to punish naughty, masochistic bad boys by slapping a ruler to their naked bottoms. The sisters stood in front of William Knudsen at the postal window. Margie had lined up her pre-addressed envelopes, which contained the advertisement proofs that Alan had expensively but confidentially prepared. Of course, William had no idea what the envelopes contained. As Margie read off the names on the unsealed envelopes, Ellen read off the amount due to each magazine. William issued the money orders payable to each vendor. Ellen then retrieved her roll of bills. William totaled the cash due, and Ellen paid him, along with a small money order issuance fee. William said nothing, but Ellen could sense by the way his eyes darted across the envelopes that he was curious. "We're starting some 900 numbers," she volunteered, trying to assuage his curiosity. Margie glared at her, wary that her sister might give away too much information. "Yes, we're putting my recipe for lefts out. So people call in to get some cooking tips." Ellen seemed to be flirting with William, who warmly smiled back at her. "Oh, yeah, I see. I'm sure that plenty of people around here would like to call in." "Oh, no, hon. My recipe's free to anyone in Himmel. They just need to ask." After William issued the final money order and Margie sealed it into its respective envelope, William bid the sisters goodbye. "Good luck there with your new business, Miss Ellie." "Yep," Margie answered sarcastically. "We need plenty of that there luck, don't you know? Thanks, William." "You're welcome, ladies. Have a great day." William saluted his love interest and her sister as they headed out the front door. Margie and Ellen left the post office. Margie quietly nudged her little sister to tease her about William. "Ellie and William up in a tree." "Goodness, Marge, why do you have to be that way? He's just an old friend." "Maybe you should tell William to call in. I'm sure he'd love to talk to you," Margie joked. "Marge," Ellen snapped, "can't you stop your teasing for once?" "Hell no. If Stanley ever comes back, you need to dump his sorry old ass and trade him in for William Knutson. You know he's sweet on you." Ellen grew impatient as she boarded the passenger's seat of Margie's baby blue Lincoln Town car. "Margie, hon, give it a rest. Last thing I need is another man right now. I've got work to do." It was the first week of March, and Ellen Severtsen once again trekked the quarter-mile hike to check her afternoon mail. This month had been filled with record warm temperatures for North Dakota. In fact, Ellen now required only her favorite pink sweater to warm her. Margie stood in the kitchen while she made lefse and answered the phone. The 900 line she had advertised had already generated a few regular callers. They all wanted to speak to Margie, and Ellen had to admit her sister was very good at sounding sexy. Some of her callers might have even been considered somewhat obsessive about the attention she was doting on them. Of course, it was all for the money. Ellen opened the mailbox. She discovered Marge's very first revenue check since they established their 900 number and put ads in a few select entertainment publications. She opened the envelope and reviewed the check. It was not a sizable sum, but it was certainly nothing to scoff at. As Marge's number grew in popularity, Ellen was sure that the size of the checks would also grow exponentially. She trotted back to the farmhouse, kicked off the dirt from her shoes, and removed her sweater. It was no longer wintry outside. In the past month, average temperatures had finally climbed well above freezing. It was indeed an early spring in the town of Himmel. Marge heated up a butter and cream mixture to be used for making lefse. She nuzzled the cordless phone on her right shoulder while she simultaneously carried on a phone conversation with a 900 caller. Ellen quietly showed her the sum contained on their latest check. Marge nodded and smiled. "Oh, yeah, that is so good, Jack. That just turns me on," she commented to her caller while quietly acknowledging her sister's good news. She warmed the butter lightly on the stove to soften it. "Yeah, you're just trying to butter me up, aren't you?" She added the cream mixture to the warmed butter. "Yeah, Jack. You make me want a cream in my jeans." "What? Oh, no, I'm not wearing jeans. I'm not wearing anything. My pussy is ready and waiting for your big, massive dick." Ellen shook her head. She wasn't quite sure she would ever get the hang of this. She hadn't answered a call yet, and she didn't know what to do if somebody did call. But Margie seemed comfortable with it, and her success with 1-900 Hot Mama was making money. "Oh, yeah, that's right. Give it to me, Jack." Margie added the salt to the buttercream mixture. "Oh, yeah, honey. Talk dirty to me like a salty sailor." Margie held up the phone so that Ellen could hear the grunts and groans from her caller on the other end. Ellen snickered quietly in her palms as she listened. Oh, yeah, Jack, baby. That was good for me. Huh? Oh, yeah, I'm just going to shower and lay out nude at the pool for a while. You just think about me, and I promise the next time I touch myself, I'll be thinking about you. Mwah. Bye-bye. Marge hung up the phone. She set down the butter and cream mixture, grabbing their first check from her sister. Elated, she danced around in circles. Hell yeah! We're going to be rich. Oh my God, Ellie, we're going to be friggin' rich. She grabbed Ellen's hands and joyously spun her around. Just then, the phone rang, but it wasn't Margie's line. It was Ellen's line. Ellen stood looking like a deer in the headlights. She panicked and stuttered. Margie, I... Nonsense, Margie commented. She answered the ringing line. 1-900 old ladies. Yes, just a minute. She handed the phone to Ellen, still frozen in terror. It's for you, Miss Dietrich. Ellie rolled her eyes and took a deep breath. She hesitantly took the phone from her sister. Margie grinned impishly. Hello? Yes, this is Miss Elsa Dietrich. What is your name, you naughty boy? She took in another great sigh as the caller answered her question. Oh, Danny. Well, Mr. Dan, what have you done to be such a naughty schoolboy? Ellen was clearly uncomfortable as her caller related the pornographic error of his ways. Her eyes widened as she shook. Marge watched, amused by the exchange. She picked up a lefse stick in her hand. This was a long wooden stick with a handle, which was used to flip the delicate flatbread on the griddle. The edges of the stick were smooth so as not to tear the rolled bread. Ellie snapped it hard against the kitchen table. You hear that? That is my ruler, eh? I want you to pull down your pants and bend over for me. I'm going to spank your bare bottom. That'll teach you a thing or two about ever doing that again, don't you know? She snapped the wooden stick repeatedly against the hard surface of the kitchen table as she yelled into the phone. Don't you ever, ever do that again. You hear? You're a very, very naughty boy. This time, Ellen held the receiver out as she continued to yell and smack the lefse stick down on the table, making a loud thwapping noise, which the caller could clearly hear. In turn, Margie put her ear to the phone as she quietly chuckled to the noises of heavy breathing on the caller's end of the line. Marge nodded to her sister, acknowledging that the caller's breath sounds had subsided. Ellen held the phone back up to her ear. Now, don't call here again until you think about what you've done, eh? She hung up the phone. After Ellen restored the cordless phone back into its cradle, Margie laughed hysterically. Oh my God, that is so funny. Ellie, darling, you were great. Well, maybe I need a little work, eh? Did it make you think about teaching school again, dear? Oh, goodness, no, Margie. I've never treated my students like that. No, you're a natural, Ellie. I didn't know you had it in you. I can only recommend one thing, dear. What's that, hon? You've got to drag it out for at least 5 minutes. Give them their money's worth. The sisters joyously clapped each other's hands above their heads. Sister, we are going to be so friggin' rich, Margie cried ecstatically.